Good evening and welcome to tonight's GamedayU basketball show. I'm your host Elise Jones and I'm joined here by Miles Smith, Kaylee Tingelstad, and Michael Martin. It's officially mid-March, which means it's time for March Madness. So tonight we will be previewing OU versus Missouri, look at where Big 12 teams sit in the tournament, and predict the Final Four. But before we get into it, let's take a look at the results from the Big 12 tournament. Kansas State beat TCU and later fell to Baylor, who then lost in a major upset against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma defeated Iowa State for the third time this season, but fell short to Kansas in the quarterfinals. Texas defeated Texas Tech to play Kansas in the semis, but COVID protocol knocked the Jayhawks out of the tournament. The Longhorns and the Pokes battled to add a championship title to their name this season, but Texas came out on top as the Big 12 champions. Now, going back to Oklahoma's loss against Kansas, this brought up several questions about the consistency and power of this OU team. In the first half, Oklahoma was 6 of 20 from the field with 13 turnovers, which led the Sooners to setting a season low of scoring just 15 points and a half. But when Oklahoma returned for the second half, they were a different team, erasing their 20-point deficit to challenge the Jayhawks. Ultimately, it wasn't enough, and Oklahoma fell short 69-62. All this leads to the question, is the OU offense problematic? Should Coach Kruger be trying different schemes, or how can an offense that's oftentimes stagnant be fixed?
First and foremost, I just want to say congrats to all the teams that made it to the tournament and are traveling to Indianapolis for the March Madness tournament. But OU has to do something different. I'm going to be honest with you. Starting Brady Manick at the 5 is just not going to cut it anymore. His presence in the paint is just not big. He goes and competes against centers like Jericho Sims, Jared Culver, and they just look like Wilt Chamberlain against him. Like, look at this play, like how he's just bullying him. Like, look how embarrassing that is. I feel like Lon Kruger needs to make an adjustment and put Kerr Kweth at the 5. I feel like Kerr brings a stronger presence inside the paint, and he's able to block shots when needed, and maybe take somebody out of the lineup like maybe Mo Gibson and Elijah Harkless. Somebody that could bring more depth into that second unit with guys like Jalen Hill, Victor Iwuakor, and maybe just add depth to the team. Because right now, in the past we've seen like a 4-game losing streak, and it's just not looking good. So I feel like adding Kerr Kweth to the starting lineup would definitely help their chances of being a stronger team going into the tournament.
I'm going to have to say, let's keep doing what we're doing, but this offense does need some help. OU's been declining seriously, and Kruger needs to keep using this rotation he has, but we need to get some momentum. We need to get some motivation. I mean, you saw in the Kansas game, 15 points, a season low. With that game, we had a season high of 18 turnovers. OU has not been performing like they should be. They also slow down after halftime. They're not on their game coming out of the locker room. They have strong starts, but do not keep the momentum after the half. In the game against K-State and a game against OSU, the second half struggles lasted for about 5 minutes, with the Sooners shooting a combined 2 for 20 from the field, 1 of 8 behind the 3-point line. And then against Iowa State February 20th, the Sooners started the second half 2 of 13 from the floor over the first 9 minutes. These Sooners are just declining game after game. I'm hoping by the tournament they can get it back together.
I'm also going to say that it's problematic just for different reasons. I think that the offense is just too stagnant late in games, and just, I guess, overall. It's not his fault, but I just think Austin Reeves is miscast as the primary ball handler. Instead, I'd have Davion Harmon control more of the game and be that playmaker and facilitator. Reeves is a great player, but I think with more ball movement, more people movement, and having Harmon and Gibson handle the ball most of the time, and have Reeves work off the ball like he did at Wichita State, where he shot 40+% from 3, and you can still have him barrel to the rim, catch and shoot, and work as a secondary playmaker going downhill. He'll still be able to draw fouls and play 75% of his regular game, but it'll make him more efficient. He won't have to put as much effort out there, and it'll make the team a lot better.
So you're saying that he should be more of like a Klay Thompson caliber type of player? Or like,
I'm saying more like Chris Middleton-esque, where You're working off the ball, you can catch and shoot the three, or you can drive and get in the lane. You're also a good guy who can come off those small screens and you can get in a different pick and roll as a secondary guy. But just the way he plays when he brings up the ball, it just slows the game down too much. Kaylee mentioned our second half struggles just slowing down, and I got this stat. Last 7 minutes of the Kansas game, other than 3 putback attempts, Austin Reeves took every shot of the game.
But isn't that his job, though? Like,
if you're the point guard, you're the facilitator.
He's supposed to be that guy, though.
You can be that guy and not take every shot. Cade Cunningham's that guy. He's not taking 30 shots.
He is, though. He actually is finishing, like, the game.
Now, 2 key Sooners this season have been Austin Reeves and Brady Manek. We've seen the leadership they bring to the court and how much OU relies on these 2 players. So with the extra year of eligibility, should Reeves and Manek stick around, or is it time for them to move on? What does Sooner basketball look like next season if they stay or if they leave?
I don't think they should. I feel like with their resume, with the resume that they have, they've done enough. I feel like both of those guys have been high value players for us, for OU, and they definitely bring star power to this team that we have now. I feel like the guys that do need to stay, though, is Alondis Williams and Kirk Quett. They definitely bring more athleticism, more roster to the team, more highlight moments, adding and also capitalizing on that. I feel like with this new backcourt that we're supposed to have next season with Bijan Cortez and CJ Nolan, if y'all don't know about them, they're going to be, y'all look out for them. They're the real deal, for real. So I feel like just adding that to what OU has already, they're going to be great. And definitely with Alondis Williams dealing with COVID issues, and with his grandma dying, rest in peace to her soul, he's definitely does need another year of eligibility. Plus, it's like having guys like Austin Reeves and Brady Manek back. It's like adding parsley to your food. It's like, it looks good, but it's like, why are you here? So, you don't feel me? Like.
No, I'm going to have to disagree. I think they should stay. Why would they leave? Why fix something that's not broken? I think both of these players don't have that strong of chance of going to the draft after this year, especially Manek. He had a really rough year with COVID, so why not stay another year and work on yourself? I think if they don't stay and they try to go in the draft, potential EuroLeague situation, but I think they should stay. They have the year, take another year and build your resume so when next year, if they want to go into the draft, they have a stronger chance of it. I would love to see them stay, and I hope we see them staying this year or for next year.
I gotta disagree with you. I'm not hoping that they'll leave, but I think it's better for the team. I just don't know what else they can accomplish here on campus. I mean, first team All Big 12 for Austin Reeves. Brady Manek's had a great career, but it's time to move on. All good things, they have to come to an end. And I think it's time to showcase the roster for next year. I mean, you mentioned those 2 guys coming in as freshmen, but Harmon, Gibson, and Harkless and other guys are going to be playing some great basketball, flying up and down the court. Right here you can see the highlights of the Alabama game, and those guys are just going up and down, shooting threes, really fast-paced NBA style, and I think that'll even help recruiting as you're going to push more guys into the NBA just with that style. And you also get versatility. You get guys like Kirk Quett hopefully coming back, Alondis Williams, Harkless, and the 2 guards I mentioned. You can play just switchable, versatile, and I just think that's the best thing. If they want to come back, they can. I just don't know how much it's going to help if they're playing the same roles that they are.
That's true. But I got beef with you, KT. Why? Why do you need another year of Brady Manek and Austin Reeves? They haven't done enough for you?
No. I think especially with COVID, Brady Manek has not had the time he needs, and I think one more year will give him some great stats for his resume.
Let that man go overseas, go to the pros, let him get the bag, let him chase the bag. Like, why does he need to stay here in Norman?
I'd like to see Brady Manek play another year, but I guess that's just me.
Now let's go to this week's breakdown where Dylan Rivera will tell us about Alabama's up-tempo 3-point attack.
Nate Oates has led Alabama to a regular season SEC title, an SEC tournament title, and a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament in just his 2nd year as head coach for the Crimson Tide. How has he turned the program around so quickly? We're going to take a look at Alabama's unique, fast-paced 3-point attack, how Oates has gotten the Tide rolling. Oates' offense isn't really about schemes. He stresses pace and space. Let's take a look at some charts and graphs to better understand Bama's offense. Here's the shot chart of Alabama's 115-82 win over Georgia. Look carefully. Only one shot taken from mid-range. Every shot came from the paint or behind the arc. 30 attempts from deep against the Bulldogs. But the game we really need to take a look at is the Tide's game against LSU. A whopping 43 three-point attempts, and not a single shot from mid-range. In the SEC title game, Bama and LSU met up again, and the Tide shot 36 three-pointers. That's a combined 79 attempts from beyond the arc over 2 games. But how do they get up so many threes a game? What kind of plays are the Crimson Tide running that clears up so many deep shot opportunities? The answer is surprisingly simple. They don't. The first thing to know about an Oats coach team is they will run. Keep your eyes on the shot clock throughout these clips. A lot of these shots go up within about 10 seconds. In 2020, Bama ranked 4th in possessions per game, and this year, they're tied for 10th. The up-tempo offense catches defenses still trying to get set or still backpedaling, often leading to open threes in transition. So what does the impact of the pace and space offense look like? What happens to the defense when they constantly have to worry about the three ball? Let's slow it down and take a look at a couple of clips from this Tennessee-Bama game in the conference tournament. On this play, you can see all 5 volunteer defenders playing up. As a result, Herb Jones is easily able to sneak past defenders for maybe the easiest dunk of this year. On this play, Alex Reese, number 3, is the post presence on the floor for the Tide, but he can stripe it from downtown every now and then. What that does is it makes defenders have to think about him in high pick-and-pop situations. 1 minute later, a similar quick screen play is run, and the help defender is too worried about Reese. Now Jones has an easy backdoor cut to the hoop for the jam. Reese, believe it or not, has attempted the 3rd most threes on the season for Bama, and he's played half as many minutes as his teammates in the 1 and 2 spot. 4 players on the Tide average 3 or more attempts per game. The leader amongst them, John Petty, at 6.4 attempts per game. For all the old heads in the room, cover your ears. Coach Oates' offense in 2020 ended in post-ups on only 1.8% of possessions, tying Alabama for 347th in the country. So this team truly lives beyond the arc, and there's been some games where that's killed them. 24% shooting from 3 against Stanford, resulting in an 82-64 loss. An abysmal 13.6% against Clemson, and the Tide falls 64-56. 26.9% in the game against Western Kentucky. Bama loses a close one, 73-71. The Crimson Tide have attempted a Division I leading 912 three-point shots through their 30-game season, an average of 30.4 attempts per game. As we begin the unique 2021 NCAA tournament, can Alabama sustain this success? Will the basketball gods be on the side of the Tide and help them make a deep tournament run? Well, the old saying goes, you live and die by the 3. That's Alabama's pace and space offense. Elise, back to you.
Coming up next on GamedayU, we're going to debate where Austin Reeves sits as an all-time Sooner. Welcome back to Game Day U. OU has tons of players that are remembered for their talent and leadership on the court. So how will Austin Reeves be remembered in Norman? Say he doesn't take the year of eligibility. Where do you have Reeves in the all-time conversation?
I just want to start off by saying we appreciate everything that AR has done for the Sooners, and like his ability to play, scoring the basket, all that good stuff. But he's just not that Trae Young, Buddy Hield, Mookie Blaylock type of player. He's more like that Christian James, Christian Doolittle type of player where, where he's been decent, nothing great. He's currently averaging 17.7 points, 4.7 assists, shooting 4.3% from the field goal range. Christian James, comparing that to Christian James numbers, he had 14.6 points, grabbing 6.2 rebounds, shooting 41% from the field goal range, and do average 15.8, shooting 44.1 field goal range. Those are all the same numbers. I feel like it's not nothing great. It's decent, but not nothing that's like, oh my God, like wow,
I'm going to have to say at this point in time, no, Austin Reeves is not an all-time Sooner, but if he stays another year, then I think he has a strong chance. Reeves is the leading scorer, 17.7 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, and 4.7 assists. It's good, not amazing, so if he stays, it could be even better. I mean, look at the Bama game. Everyone thought OU was doomed at that game without Reeves or Alondas Williams, but Harmon and Harkless stepped up, and OU won that game. So he's a great player. He's done great things for OU this year, but he's not an all-time Sooner. If he stays another year, the answer might be different, but right now, he's not an all-time Sooner.
Is Austin Reeves an all-time Sooner? I'm going to quote my good friend Miles Smith here. That is so disrespectful. Absolutely not. When you have guys like Stacey King, Mookie Blaylock, Alvin Adams, Hollis Price, Brent Price, Jordan Woodard, Isaiah Cousins, Ryan Spangler, and more, I just don't think it matches up. I think his legacy is that TCU game that you're watching right now. I would compare him more, I know this is a basketball show, but with football, to Trevor Knight with his Alabama game. That is his Alabama game right there for Austin Reeves. I think he's a really good player, and he's going to be remembered for a while, but I don't think that you can really put him in that conversation with the elite of the elite as a top 10, top 15 guy in the program's history.
You used my quote. That was good. I like that. But it's like the way you saying that was disrespectful. How? Like, you making this man seem like he's like Ty Lazenby or some like that type of player. Like,
no, it's just, he had a great year this year, first team all Big 12. That's nothing to, shrug about or look down upon. But just whenever it's career, you have to look at a larger sample size. And, even though Trae Young played 1 year, his year was just so much better. In the same way that we look at guys like, not a football show, Landry Jones compared to Kyler Murray. Kyler played 1 year as a starter, Landry, but we all know who we look at higher.
That's fact.
Well, it's tournament time and the Sooners are ready to dance. They'll take on Missouri on Saturday with a 6:25 p.m. tip-off. This will be the second time the Sooners and the Tigers meet in March Madness. But what does Oklahoma need to do to claim first-round victory?
They need to get their offensive rhythm back, man. It's what we've been seeing these past couple games, it's been cool, but it's not nothing that we've seen in January. Like, we need that team that's been playing in January. We need them. We've got guys that can produce on the offensive end, like Austin Reeves, Elijah Harkless, Davion Harmon, but the Sooners need to focus more on bringing that defensive intensity back. As the saying goes, defense wins games. So, for example, that game where they played Texas Tech in Lubbock, that was a great game defensively for the Sooners. Guys like Elijah Harkless, Jalen Hill stepped up big time when it came to taking on that responsibility of shutting down Mac McClung. If you look back at the highlights of that game, Mac McClung was like basically non-existent. And even though we lost that game, I feel like the Sooners need to capitalize on bringing that defensive intensity back and performing at a high level on both sides of the floor and not just the offensive side.
Yeah, OU needs three things. They need energy, energy, and energy because Missouri has energy and these Sooners have been declining like crazy. Pinson, Drew Smith lead the Tigers in scoring 14.1 points per each game, and Jeremiah Tillman averages 12.3 with a team high of 7 rebounds per game and leads the Tigers with 32 block shots. This team is able to shoot 32% from the three-point range, and they're ranked 11th in the 14th team league this season. So the Tigers are also ranked 11th in the SEC for rebounding and 11th in steals. So OU is going to have to step it up if they want to compete with this Missouri game. The Tigers have stumbled down the stretch, but they have as much experience as any other team, and they're continuing to show it.
I agree with some of the points you guys are making in terms of we got stagnant and we need to get some more energy out there. I just think we had that great run where we won 5 in a row or whatever it was, and then after that it seemed like we got stagnant and complacent in terms of games. We're like, we'll figure it out. We've done it before. We won in these big games late. We came back. But when you're playing against great teams in the tournament, that's going to come back to bite you in the same way that it did against Kansas. As far as Missouri is concerned, I think the main guy on the team right now is Jeremiah Tillman. You know, the Tigers' big man is averaging 13 and 7, but I can see him putting up big numbers against the Sooners. Miles touched on it earlier. Our post defense is not great. You know, Missouri plays a great inside-out game, and for OU to take advantage of some of our strengths, I think that they need to really go at these centers and get some switches where you can get Harmon or Gibson or Reeves with Tillman guarding them in space. Get him in foul trouble. Really make him move up and down the floor and get him tired. The last thing that you want is a full energy big man who's just going to eat your guys alive.
That's true. I feel like they need to do more. It's like, are they getting gassed? Are they tired? Are they being fatigued? I don't know what that is, but they need to figure that out going into the tournament in order to make a run. And like make a statement and letting the rest of the world know that the Sooners are here.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, energy is the biggest thing. The Sooners don't have it right now. They don't have that momentum, so they just need to get that energy up if they want to compete. Get the offense doing better, get the defense like it's been doing, and just they need energy if they're going to expect to have a chance in this game.
Well, Oklahoma High School's just finished their state tournament. Colton Soley has more on who dominated this season.
After the 2020 Oklahoma High School state basketball tournaments were canceled due to COVID-19, we finally got to see the top schools compete for championships this past weekend at Oral Roberts in Tulsa and at the Big House in OKC, and there were a handful of big storylines and memorable performances. In 6A, the 2-seed Del City defeated Edmond Santa Fe convincingly 52-36 in the first round of the state playoffs. The Eagles then went on to defeat Putnam City North 55-44 in the semifinals before punching their ticket to the state tournament or the state championship game, making the school's second straight title game appearance after advancing to the 5A state championship game in 2019. Meanwhile, on the other side of the 6A bracket, we had number 1 seed Edmond Memorial beat Broken Arrow 52-42, advancing to the championship game behind dominant performances from Sean Padula, Virginia Tech signee. The title game was an all-out battle between Padula and Del City's Keandre Young. Memorial and Del City stayed neck and neck the entire game, and the contest came down to the final seconds. Del City was up 3 with 5.9 seconds remaining. Edmond Memorial had the ball, and the whole building knew who was going to take the last shot. Padula's last-second deep three to tie didn't fall, and the Eagles were crowned the 6A champion. And then huge shout-out to the Norman High girls for winning the 6A state championship game following the unfortunate racial comments made on an NFHS broadcast of their game against Midwest City. The Lady Tigers went on to face the Bixby Spartans in the final round of the 6A tournament and closed out its perfect 19-0 season with a 48-37 win. Then in the 5A boys state championship game, number 1 Carl Albert blew out number 3 Lawton MacArthur 72-49, earning its 3rd straight title in school history and becoming the only school to win state titles in both football and basketball this year. James Locke led the way for the Titans with 19 points, while Quentin Woodson added 18. And now for the best game of the weekend, the 1-seed Kingfisher and 2-seed Heritage Hall. Heritage Hall won the 4A gold ball in 2018. Kingfisher won it in 2019, and both teams felt like last year they had state titles taken away from them. There was no shortage of star power between the two teams inside State Fair Arena Saturday night. Heritage Hall's senior guard Trey Alexander, an Auburn signee, and the top overall commit in the state of Oklahoma, according to 247 Sports. For Kingfisher, senior guard Bijan Cortez will be coming to Norman next fall, joining Lon Kruger's squad, and senior forward Matthew Stone is signed to North Texas. Heritage Hall led for the majority of the game behind Alexander's 18 points. However, it wasn't enough as the Yellow Jackets went on to win their second 4A state championship in 3 years. The future Sooner finished his high school career with a huge performance, netting 23 points and 7 rebounds. That's the 6A, 5A, and 4A state titles for you. For more information on how the smaller divisions finished up, you can visit the OSSAA website for scores and brackets. Elise, back to you.
Thanks, Colton. Coming up next on GamedayU, we're going to break down the Big 12 and discuss just how far these teams can make it in the tournament. Welcome back to GamedayU. It's been argued that the Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball this year. But within the conference, who are the best players? The all-Big 12 team was announced and included Baylor guards Jarrett Butler and Davion Mitchell, Oklahoma guard Austin Reeves, the star from Oklahoma State, Cade Cunningham, and the forward from West Virginia, Derek Culver. So is this who you would have on your all-Big 12 team, or is someone missing?
Most definitely. I feel like all five of these guys have definitely produced on the basketball court and have made a name for themselves when it comes to being a high-level player in the Big 12. Especially, what better way to like compete in the best conference in the world if you're not the best player? So you got guys like Cade Cunningham that's doing numbers. It's like we know things like, and we don't know how they come to be, but it's like, we know Cade Cunningham is good at basketball. So it's like, how is there no why is there no debating against that? It's just no question. And plus, you got guys like Austin Reeves. Oh my God, look at Mac McClung with that block right there. Jesus Christ, that man is different. But it's like, also, you got guys that can produce at a high level and have put up points and have been that guy in clutch moments where they have produced a lot of games, a lot of points per game, and have been that number one player and have shown that they can compete at a high level or at any level for that matter. So that's why I feel like the 5 that were shown, that list is right. Correct. It's right.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think these are the best 5 players from the Big 12 Conference. It's a tough conference. There's a ton of great talent, but I think these 5 have to be the top. I mean, Jared Butler and Cade Cunningham, these are some of the most elite players in all of NCAA basketball. They were unanimously voted into the All-12 team, so I think these are the best players. Austin Reeves, best player for Oklahoma, all-leading scorer. Davion Mitchell, Derek Culver, both great players. Culver doing great for West Virginia. I think McBride could have also snuck in there, but I think the second team has great talent. The Big 12 is just really competitive, so I mean, only the best of the best are going to make it, and other players that have great talent aren't going to make it in there. But I think these have to be the best 5 players of the Big 12.
I agree with both of you. I think they got it right with this one on the voting, and I'm just going to go player by player on why they deserve it in, because they accomplished it. Reeves, huge part of this big win streak earlier this year that I talked about, led the Big 12 in free throw percentage, 2nd in scoring, 3rd in assists in the league. As far as Cade, he's the best player in the entire country, 2-way player who can score from all 3 levels and facilitates an elite level. There's a reason he's going to be the #1 pick no matter who's picking. He could be starting for maybe 25 teams right now, today. And then whenever you get down over to Derek Culver, he led the conference in double-doubles for this year and was the first all-conference Mountaineer in 3 years. And then, of course, with the best team in the Big 12, Baylor, you got to have 2 guys on the team. With Butler, 2nd straight season as an all-Big 12 player, averaging 16, 3, and 3 on great efficiency. And Mitchell, the real X-factor, he's a do-it-all combo guard who can make plays for himself and others. And he's also the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and this is his 2nd year in a row where he's been all-conference defense. Just a great list top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can't disagree with Jared Butler and Cade Cunningham. I mean, both of those players are outstanding, so you can't disagree with those.
This was actually the first question that we all got correct. Like, look at us, man. Look at us. Thriving, man. Look at us, man. We love to see it, man. Love to see it.
Now, the former powerhouse in the Big 12 took an early exit from the conference tournament due to COVID protocol. So can Kansas overcome the first round without 2 or 3 of their players, or will they take an early exit?
They'll definitely make some noise going into the tournament, but I don't think they'll get it done. I feel like them losing guys like Jalen Wilson, who is leading he's a main leader in conference when it comes to steals, great player on the defensive end, on both sides of the floor actually. So I feel like losing him is going to take a toll on them, but they'll get somewhere, but not too far, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Jalen Wilson is going to really hurt Kansas, but I mean, they still were missing 2 players when they played Oklahoma in the Big 12 tournament. So I think they'll get past the first round, but not too far after that. I mean, 7 days of negative testing for the NCAA protocol, so there's a chance the other 2 players can come back, but I don't see them making farther. I think they'll get through the first round, and then I think it might be done after that. I mean, they haven't been that great this season also, is another thing to take into consideration. So they're not the usual Kansas that they always are. So I think first round, and then after that, we won't be seeing much of Kansas.
I totally agree with Kaylee. It's like you read off my notes. But I just think that they're going to get out of the first game, and the second round they're going home. I just think USC, whenever they match up with them, are too big. The Mobley brothers, especially Evan, is just going to be a mismatch problem for Kansas just to the max. And even then, this is not a great Kansas team. Even with great Kansas teams in the past, they've been losing early in the tournament. They got upset as a #1 seed by Northern Iowa years ago. And this is just not a great Kansas team. I think that they're one and done.
It sucks that, you lose out on guys with this whole pandemic. It really takes a toll on you, and you try to play through it, but it's like, man, you just can't be without that player. It's tough.
I mean, they even lost their chances in the Big 12 tournament. They had a withdrawal right after the positive COVID test. So, I mean, they took a big disadvantage there, too.
That's facts.
Now for the team that took down the Baylor Bears is going in as a 4 seed, which is their best seeding since 2005, and almost clutched the Big 12 championship, but fell to Texas. It's Oklahoma State. How deep in the tournament will the Pokes play?
Elise, KT, Big Mike, there are things in this world where we don't know how they come to be. We just accept things for who they are. Like the sky is big. The sky is blue, right? Another thing. You want to know another thing? Cade Cunningham is good at basketball. Oh, my God. Are you serious right now? Yo, Cade Cunningham has proven time and time again he's that person that can make a difference in clutch moments of the game. It's like, how? He's actually really annoyingly good at basketball. Like, it's just not even fair at this point. But I do have them going into the Elite Eight, though. And have him being the player that he is, being that great player, he has a great supporting system around him. Like, now that he has his running mate Isaac Likely back, he's got guys like Matthew Alexander Moncrief, Avery Anderson, Rondell Walker, Caleb Boone. These are all guys that can not only complement Cade's game, but they can create shots for themselves. And that's why I feel like the Pokes are definitely gonna make an Elite Eight appearance. Don't take it for what you see. He's that good. Just take it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to agree with you, Miles. Cade Cunningham is amazing. He can do anything that's needed of him. He can hold this team, and I think he can take it all the way to the Elite Eight. The Cowboys have soared up the bracket thanks to a stretch that included 6 ranked wins within 19 days. And that's the shortest span for 6 ranked wins in the AP poll era. They're ranked 24th in defensive efficiency, and the Cowboys have an effective field goal percentage of 47%, which is 49th in the country. They hold teams to 41% shooting and 32.2 from 3. I mean, this Cowboys team is very strong, like you said. Isaac Likely returning from an injury is going to help them. When he returned from in the game against West Virginia, he shot 66% while scoring 10 points and crashed into the glass with 7 rebounds. I mean, Cade Cunningham averages 19.7 points per game, 45% shooting average, and deadly 42 from the 3. I mean, this kid is amazing, and I think they can take it all the way to the Elite Eight. I don't know how far they could go after that, but I see them definitely getting into that 8.
I absolutely agree. I touched on it earlier. He's a 3-level scorer and an incredible playmaker in the vein of Luka Doncic and other guys like that. And he can just do anything on the floor. He's a Swiss Army knife. If you go, Cade, we need you to bring up the ball and get 10 assists, no problem. Score 30, no problem. Guard the other team's best player, no problem. Lead the team in rebounding, get some post-ups, no problem. He can do it all. And that's why I think they can go all the way. I think they can go as far as he takes them. And, it's not uncommon for guards to just lead a team all the way through the tournament. Like in years past, you guys like Kemba, Jimmer, Steph, Shabazz Napier, Mario Chalmers, Derrick Rose. Just lots and lots of guys, and history shows that one guy can carry your team through the tournament for a long amount of time. And this team's been hot. They almost won the Big 12 championship. They took down Baylor. I think that they have everything going for them. You might notice that every highlight here is Cade, and that's because it is all about Cade. A guy who makes me cry going to sleep because I know he won't be playing for the Thunder. It's just unbelievable. He's a great player. I think they can go the distance.
Coming up next on Game Day U, we're rooting for the underdogs and discussing which team could be the 2021 Cinderella story. Welcome back to Game Day U. Before we discuss the underdogs and hear some Final Four predictions, here's Dylan Rivera with the top 5 plays from last Monday to this Monday.
Thanks, Elise. Let's go to the SEC semifinal game between Tennessee and Bama. Forward Herb Jones gets the ball on the baseline and drops an absolute dime, making the behind-the-back magic look easy. 2 more on the board, and Bama would get the comeback victory, 73-68. Utah State, San Diego State. It's the Mountain West Conference Championship. Nehemiah Queta gets the huge chase down block, and it looks impressive from this angle. But wait till you get another look at it. Queta literally hits his head on the backboard. The block, the headbutt, and a big game from Queta as he racked up a team-high 18 points and the Aggies lost to the Aztecs. Oklahoma State and Texas. Talk about a fast start. Opening tip of the game. Nothing to see here except a huge alley-oop from Cunningham to Moncrief. It took the Pokes 4 seconds to score. Unfortunately, the lead stuck around just as long as it took for OSU to get, as the Longhorns would win the conference title 91-86. Virginia and Syracuse, tie ball game, 69-69. Cavaliers ball. As the play unfolds, the defense gets caught ball watching, and freshman guard Reese Beekman lines it up and snipes the orange. 3 ball is good, and Cuse is sent home. Virginia may owe a big thank you to Beekman for securing their 4th seed in the NCAA tournament. Our top play comes from Maryland and Michigan. Air Wiggins is cleared for takeoff. Rim rocker! Franz Wagner has a family, Aaron. Let's watch it again. Crossover. 1-2. Left hand poster. Those are the top 5 plays tonight. But for the top 5 plays in women's basketball, watch Game Day U's Women's Basketball Edition on Thursday. Elise, back to you.
Now we know the household names in college basketball this season, but who are some of the underdogs that are being overlooked? Who do we not expect but could see big performances from?
Georgetown! Georgetown! Say what, Georgetown! You know the vibes, man. Okay, it's no question, Georgetown. After taking home the Big East title, the Hoyas are balling right now. Their confidence is literally through the roof. They are led by senior guard Javon Blair. He's been an absolute terror right now. He's averaging 15.8 points, 3.7 assists. He's leading the team in both categories, by the way, just a light little flex. Also, considering that they started off the season on going 3-8, they've absolutely been turning this whole thing around, and be on the lookout for them to make a statement in the tourney.
Cinderella watch for me has to be Wichita State, because you can't have a fairy tale without a witch. Wichita State will take on Drake Thursday, and the winner will advance, hopefully, Wichita State. The Shockers were in a nice rhythm during their recent win streak, but with hitting more than 68 points in all 8 games before hitting the wall against Cincinnati on Saturday. The Shockers have had a dangerous outside shot. The 6'2" sophomore guard has knocked down 65 three-pointers in 21 games. None of Wichita State scholarship players have played in the college basketball big stage. Senior walk-on Bryce Bush, Jacob Hers, and the only players within the NCAA tournament with that experience. I think this team will be able to perform on the big stage and hopefully dance their way to the top, but it'll be a little bit tricky getting there. But I have confidence in Wichita State.
You know, over here at OU, we hate orange, but I'm going to take the Syracuse orange. You know, they've got shooters all around. They've got 5 different players shooting 30+% from 3, just all around. Buddy Boeheim, you know, and they even have their stout traditional 2-3 zone defense. It hasn't been as great this year, but it's still going to give teams problems. They have an NBA-style offense where they are getting into it fast. Dylan touched on Alabama earlier, and Syracuse is the same way. They're getting out there, they're shooting threes, they're running, they're dunking, they're getting lobs, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. They can drive and dish and kill you from 3, and at the same time get in the lane and finish well. If they get hot from 3 and continue to build on the confidence that they've gotten through their conference tournament, they're going to be a hard team to get out of the tournament.
Well, the expected favorites this year are Illinois, Baylor, Michigan, and the undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs. Which of these top teams do you think will be the first to fall?
I got Michigan. The reason why is because you got teams like Baylor, Gonzaga, Illinois. How can you go against that? You know, it's like, I know Juwan Howard and his team has definitely had a good year so far, but I feel like they're not worthy of being that 1 seed, and I feel like they might fall to somebody who they won't expect in the tournament. And it's just, I don't know, I just don't see them making it far. I see those other 3 teams making it, but I won't be surprised that they won't be in the Final Four. And I hate to say that, considering that they have the season that they had, but I don't see them. I won't be surprised if I see them anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Michigan. I think they're going to be the first seed out. I mean, they've lost 3 of their last 5 games, and they've been declining and just not been doing as good as they should. I don't think they deserve the 1 seed at this point anyway. And they have a strong competition ahead of them between, if they make it, LSU, Florida State, Alabama, Colorado, and Texas. Like, Michigan's going to have to get back to playing its best basketball to survive in the East region. And with Isaiah Livers out with a foot injury, I think this is terrible timing for Michigan, and I don't see them getting very far. If they get far enough, Alabama's going to knock them out, in my opinion.
I'll take Illinois then. I just do not trust their lack of shot blocking and just overall rim protection. Their post defense is just not that great, and that's lost to Michigan State. Guys are just getting to the rim at will. It's just not even really that hard, and if you can't protect the rim, I don't know how you're going to expect to win. I mean, these guys are just getting in there, easy layups, uncontested. It's just not that hard. And, you know, if teams play Illinois in the tournament, all they have to do is be patient, attack the lane, and even if they don't have as much success attacking the lane because they overcompensate, shooters are going to be open. If you just play your game against Illinois and even then increase some of the pace because they don't want to do that, I think it's a pretty good formula to come away with a win. Obviously, all 4 of these teams are good, but I just think Illinois is the weak link.
Big Mike, you want to talk about football terms? Flag on the play. What are you talking about? They don't have a defensive presence in the paint. They have Kofi Coburn. What do you mean?
He wasn't stopping him right there. He got all the layups he wanted. He's not getting out there. He's not switching. They're driving right at him.
But are you watching his numbers, though? Are you looking at his numbers? Numbers don't lie.
On this one, they did.
Well, if we're speaking of top teams, which teams do you think will make it through the madness and into the Final Four?
I got Illinois, Michigan, Gonzaga, and me being from the state of Florida, I rep the home team heavy, you know. I wish I had the band to back me up on that, but I had to make it work. But I love Florida State. I love their program. I love Scotty Barnes. I'm a big Raekwon Gray fan. Anthony Polite. They have guys that can make plays and compete at a high level. Scotty Barnes is what? He's a 6'8" guard like Cade Cunningham. I know he doesn't have the draft stock like Cade, but he can put up some numbers too. Now, he's very aggressive on both sides of the floor, and his energy is just contagious on both sides of the floor, honestly. Look out for them.
I'm going to have to go with Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, and Alabama. Like I said before, I don't see Michigan making it that far. And Alabama is hot. Of all the teams in college basketball, 6 major conferences, only 1 pulled off the difficult feat of winning both the regular season and conference tournament titles, and that was Alabama in the SEC. Alabama has breezed through its conference with a 16-2 record and had no trouble winning 3 games in 3 days and taking home the SEC banner. If not for Michigan's strong record in such a difficult Big Ten, Alabama would be that #1 seed in my opinion. I think it'll come down to Michigan and Alabama will kick them off that spot. And Illinois is such a great team. I'm going to have to disagree with you, Michael. Ayo Dosunmu, I love him, and I think Illinois will be up there.
All right, well, we'll see. For my Final Four, I've got OSU. I mentioned them earlier, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is, putting them in. Alabama, of course, Baylor, and Gonzaga. Gonzaga is the best basketball team in the country. It's not really close. They have been all season. They hardly have any weaknesses as a team. They have an NBA caliber players like Jalen Suggs. They have an NBA caliber coach, and they play in an NBA system. Baylor is similar to Gonzaga in terms of they've been great all year, but they just have a lot of veteran leadership, and the 1-2 punch of Mitchell and Butler, along with Scott Drew's experience, is just a great combination coming into the Final Four in the tournament. And then last, I have the Tide. We mentioned it. They're playing at a high level. They remind me a lot in terms of the NBA of the Houston Rockets from about 2014 to 2016 before they got Chris Paul, whenever it was just James Harden going out there, in terms of playing fast, getting shots up quick, being efficient, and I think that can take some teams off guard in the tournament.
Coming up next on Game Day U, our analysts make their picks for who wins some of the biggest games this weekend. You won't want to miss this. Welcome back to Game Day U. It's our last segment of the show, and that means it's time to predict who wins round one this weekend. But first, Miles, which matchup should fans keep their eyes on this weekend?
I'm going to have to go with VCU and Oregon. Coach Mike Rhodes and star guard Nashawn Highland have definitely put the world on notice about them. Be on the lookout for them.
I'm going to have to go with Arkansas and Colgate. These two are some of the fastest teams in college basketball. That Colgate offense will keep shooting from the three, keep making it from the three, and it'll get on that high-octane style and won't blink against Arkansas. Arkansas and Colgate have some of the fastest adjusted tempos in the NCAA, and these teams both have pretty strong defenses. Colgate hasn't lost since January 3rd, and Arkansas has had a great run in the SEC these past couple of games, so this is going to be a great game.
I've got North Carolina and Wisconsin. It's a battle of contrasting styles with the Tar Heels. You have the best offensive rebounding team in Division I basketball and just a great overall rebounding team. And on the other side, you have Wisconsin, who plays very conservative. They need to focus on the boards to compete in this one with UNC, but they also have the lowest or second lowest turnover percentage in the NCAA.
Now let's jump into predicting the winners of this week's biggest games. Let's start off with Texas Tech and Utah State. Are the Red Raiders defeating the Big Blue?
I'm going to have to go with the Red Raiders. If y'all don't know who Mac McClung is by now, you will soon. I'm gonna just put it like that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Texas Tech as well. Utah State turns over the ball a lot, and they have a ton of turnover problems. So that's where Texas Tech is going to attack that and attacking defense is going to kick in. They're fantastic at forcing mistakes, and the offense is careful with the ball. So Texas Tech is going to take this one.
Is it okay to have conference pride if you aren't an SEC football fan? Because I'm taking Tech anyways. Either, the Red Raiders are great. Tech has one of the best coaches in the NCAA, and Chris Beard and Mac McClung, as Miles talked about. He's hitting a different stride. Utah State might have a stout defense, but I don't think they can hold on the ball enough.
Next up, Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech. Miles, who are you picking?
I'm going to have to go with Loyola Chicago. I just got confirmed that they let Sister Jean go to the game. So, hey, pandemic or not, Sister Jean's going to cheer on her boys, man. I'm going to have to side with her and stick with Loyola Chicago, man. They're on the rise like they was in years past, and they're definitely going to make a run in this tournament. Look out for them.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Loyola Chicago, too. They have a super strong defense. It's elite in every metric. Number 3 in adjusted defense. They play at a very slow pace, and they don't give much inch on the defensive floor, so I think they'll take this game with their strong defense.
I'm going to take Georgia Tech. I think that they can bank on their ability to force turnovers, and I just don't think Sister Jean and the boys have what it takes to get out of the tournament this time, round 1 anyways.
Georgetown is coming in to represent the Big East, and Colorado wants to redeem themselves after a conference championship loss. Who's taking this one?
I'm going to have to go with Georgetown. When those security guards checked Patrick Ewing a couple days ago, he was very disrespectful. He literally took that personal. So if you don't know who Patrick Ewing is by now, you're going to learn who he is in the near future. Be on the lookout for him and the Hoyas to make a run in the tournament.
Didn't we hear you talk about Georgetown earlier?
You were a little bit more passionate. Yeah.
What did you say last time?
Georgetown! Georgetown! Say what, Georgetown! You know the vibes, man. Let's go.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to agree with Georgetown. They shut down Creighton with the 73-48 victory, and they're on a roll. I think they're going to continue this, and I think they're going to take Colorado in this.
I'm also taking Georgetown. I'm not going to sing, luckily for all of you. But either way, I love seeing Patrick Ewing's team get the win, and I think they're going to keep winning.
Virginia Tech had a big layoff, playing only 2 games in the span of a month. They'll take on the Florida Gators come Friday night. It's a tricky 7-seed versus 10-seed game, but who will move on?
Is the camera on me for this next one? Enough said. Simple.
I'm not typically a VA Tech fan, but I'm taking Virginia Tech with this one. I think they got it over Florida in this game.
I'm taking the Gators. I think this one's going to come down to the wire. The Gators are the best free throw shooting team in the SEC, and the Hokies are one of the worst in the ACC.
And to wrap things up, will Oklahoma's defense shock Missouri, and can their offense step up, or will the Tigers take out the Sooners?
Boomer Sooner. I'm going to leave it like that. Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with OU on this one. They've struggled a little bit recently, but I think they're going to get it in for this NCAA tournament.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I hope that I'm wrong, but I don't think OU gets a win in this one. I just think their offense's problems, I don't think can be corrected that quickly. And I touched on it earlier with the big man from Missouri. I think he's going to dominate and eat all night, and I think Missouri comes away with the win.
Thank you for watching GamedayU live from Studio D at the University of Oklahoma. We'll be here next week, same time, same place. On behalf of Miles Smith, Kaylee Tinglestad, and Michael Martin, and everyone behind the scenes, I'm Elise Jones. Have a good night.